Thank you
Gosh.
so much, Lauren, for joining me today. And let's just see where this conversation takes us. Um, I just thought we'd do like a super candid share and get a
Yeah.
little backstory of each of us. And I'm interested in your experience with plasma also. So wherever you want to kick
Yeah.
it off.
Okay, cool. Well, I think, it was really nice when you sort of laid the foundation for this meeting, opening for an intent, setting the intention. And I guess like this time of year is all about sort of intention setting. What was the intention of this year and how did that play out? What did that end up looking like? And what am I calling in for the next year? And it's quite funny because I am on a path of divine union, and me at the beginning of the year when I wrote that down was so cute. It was, like, ooh, like means my man's gonna show up and da 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 da. And little did I know that that really was coming into divine union with myself, and to have that come in and the way that it has, when I really feel that the final key for that piece for me was me having this full invocation with Shivambu and coming into union with Shiva through this has just blown my mind. And I just want to have a shout out to Melly, who bridged this beautiful thing for me. I love that woman, and she's hilarious, and she sometimes gets her words muddled, and so she was calling it Shimbabu, and so I was just going with that because I'm like, okay, cool. Like, all right, let's go Shimbabu. And it wasn't until I think 5 days in, and then I watched one of your podcasts with Megan, and I was like, wait, what? Like Shiva? Shiva is in this is a Shiva thing? And I was like, oh my God, it was just like the whole thing was a rite of passage. And then just to get that, like, as I was well into this profound recalibration of my whole system, was just like the cherry on the top that put this like smile through my whole auric field. That's what it felt like. And now I'm in this place of, oh my God, everybody needs to know about this. And it's like, I guess like my life intention is truth. I'm a truth seeker, I'm a truth speaker, and for me truth is really something that I find in my body. And this process of really becoming okay with taking the Shivambu and like being in this space is kind of, I mean, it's followed me my whole life, but especially in the last year and a half, it's been like tapping on my shoulder, and I'm like, I don't want to know. I'm not Bear Grylls. I don't need to do that. Like, it's too much. And I again just got into like a deeper portal of my body language and what that really means. And there were some health things that I just couldn't get to the bottom of, specifically actually a verruca on the bottom of my foot, which like showed its face as COVID was kicking off. And so it's been this interesting guide for me when it flares up, when it's like starting to leave and it's died off and then it comes back, and I'm like, oh, there's something here. What is happening with this? And I literally, you invited me to this podcast session, and then that opened this whole other portal, and it was the truth just started flooding in for this intention of us connecting today. And it has just been profound. I It's almost hard to put into words, and this has only been 2 weeks of me being in this space, and oh my God, I was like, where was this when I was a child? Like, if I had this access to this freedom as a child to just heal myself from the get-go. Oh, so now I have that for my babies when they want to come into this earth. And now it's like there is no fear anymore because the whole thing is just here, which we knew anyway, right?
I was like, of course we were designed that way, you know? It
Mhm.
was just like
God,
so liberating, hey?
so liberating. Like,
Yeah.
honestly, so profound. And something else that just came through in the last 24 hours, which I'm sure you'll find this fascinating, is that when I was a child, from the age, I don't know, from literally from birth up until I was 10 years old, I wet the bed every night. Like I would have this reoccurring nightmare and it would send me into the most like insane state of fear. And I would wet myself every single night. Like my mother is an angel for washing and changing my laundry, my sheets every night. Like, oh, I'm so grateful for my mum doing that. Like that's insane. And what I just had this whole thing play out over the weekend was I really believe that this recurring nightmare, which I actually visited in a mushroom trip in the last 2 years, I ended up back in this nightmare and this whole thing. But what I've come to understand in the last sort of 48 hours is that I was vaccinated as a child, and I think this infestation of imbalance just took over, and it made me so afraid to be here. It just, I didn't want to be in my body. I didn't want to be here. I didn't understand what was going on. This nightmare kept coming. I'd wet the bed, da da da. And then I had to go and get trained. Like, I had to have my neural pathways kind of connected when I was about 10 because it just wasn't obviously stopping, and recalibrated with that. But then it was never solving the problem. So then that spread into polycystic ovaries. It moved like from the kidneys into the ovaries, which then it entered the hormones. And then it set me on this perpetual cycle of drugs and alcohol and partying and all of this, all that frequency that's tapped in. I became the mothership of like a parasitic incubator, basically. I went to Bali when I was in my early 20s and picked up Shigella, Giardia, and Salmonella, the beautiful trifecta that was. And no one told me to do anything about that. Just write it out. You're in quarantine, just write it out. And so I was incubating these parasites for 15 years nearly. And it was creating systemic health problems like onset rheumatoid arthritis, like crazy hormones, just PCOS flying up, like weight issues, just the whole conglomerate of fuckery, excuse my language, but it just really was. And yeah, I just had this whole download on the weekend that I really believe that I knew that I shouldn't have been on that frequency. And so it just carried on through the body and it flared up everywhere. And then I've since then been working backwards. It was repairing the liver, and then it was in the gallbladder, and then it was like going into like my fascia and my muscles, and then now in my kidneys. And it's so poetic because we've just had this typhoon come through with this. I could see the cloud setting going on. I can tell when it's not normal weather. And I just had this moment of, wow, I'm actually sitting in the energy of my kidneys, which have been pumped with these metals that was also put in to me through these vaccines as a child. And now I'm like physically manifested this purge that's happening around me in the physical while I'm going through this inside with this plasma, like recalibrating and course correcting anything. And oh my God, my sinuses. I've never had such clear sinuses. I'm like, oh, I've been putting it up my nose now. And I'm like smearing it everywhere. I'm like, everyone, come to this party of Shivambu.
Yeah, I want to do a retreat for it. Like, I would love to do a
Mm.
retreat for it in Spain, actually. That's sort of like
Oh,
one of my
cool.
dreams. If anybody wants to collaborate with me,
Oh, I could
I
definitely
would
be
be
keen for
totally
that.
into that.
Amazing.
Yeah,
So what, yeah.
it is remarkable, and yeah, it really changes your life when it has an effect, an immediate effect on you, like your experience. It's pretty wild, and super liberating. And yeah, the nasal, like my partner has had congestion. He never could sleep laying down.
Oh,
That's
wow.
how much was going on there. And now I've like
Wow.
never seen him sleep like he sleeps now. It's just
Oh,
wild. But yeah,
wow.
the whole nasal thing, if you ever, it's crazy how quickly
Wow.
that happens, hey? How quickly you
Yeah.
feel that.
Oh gosh,
And it's
because
like this clarity that comes across like behind your eyes. Like I don't know how to explain it. It's just like
totally.
literally a veil is lifted, but it feels like more than that. It feels
Yeah,
like the
it's
Iron Curtain is lifted. It's not just a
totally,
veil.
totally. I was saying to, I'm now like whispering it to my mom, and my mom's like, la 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 la. I don't want to hear that one just yet. But I was saying to her, it's like someone's like taken my corneas off, dipped them in window cleaner, and put them back on, and it's clearer than it's ever been before. And wow, like
I
it's
know, and this is
just,
just the beginning, really. Like the journey has just started. Hey, I'm just
hmm,
over 2 years now. Well, coming up soon to 3 years, and
wow.
I went like really full in.
Me too. I
Like
love
as
it.
soon as I heard about it, I was like putting it everywhere that I could, and yeah, so we didn't waste any time. And I'm really glad that I did that. I know some people are like super apprehensive and they'll like spend 2 weeks, rubbing it on the back of their hand. Or, I mean, every way that people enter into it is totally fine. Like, there's all kinds of ways to start. But yeah, when you have a immediate experience, it's
Mm,
so wild and
gosh.
really so beautiful for the body and puts you in touch with your food on
Oh,
such a beautiful level, hey?
yeah, totally. It's what I found quite interesting was that the night before I decided to do this, it was literally like a battle of my subconscious mind. I hardly slept that night. My dreams were just flooded with sorcery. And I woke up in the morning and I was like, not gonna do it. Not gonna do it. I'm just gonna soak my foot in it and I'm gonna ease into this at a later date. And then next minute my body is like, we're like getting it going and we're doing the things and I'm just like, oh, okay. And then it just happened and I'm just drinking the whole thing. I'm not even easing into it. And then my body was like, oh my God, okay, is this what's happening? And I did go into like the purge. So I spent a couple of days kind of just lying in bed. And I mean, I've done so many protocols at this point. I'm like aware of like this is happening. I'm not going to die. This is like me coming alive on a deeper level, just to calm down to the ego. Um,
Yeah. There's
yeah,
definitely detox that happens, and that was for me too. I couldn't believe how much
yeah.
mucus was coming out of my
Oh,
body. I was just like,
it's
how much more
wild.
can there be?
And also with that, I was like thinking, thank God I am a single woman in my bungalow at the moment because these guttural noises that I'm making, these hoiks, these things coming from like the deep fibers of my being. I am sorry to all the neighbors and the birds out there because this balcony saw some stuff going off it. Like, wow, it's so great.
Yeah, and once you get into the evolved, like as it ages, it changes. And you can
Mm.
put it out in the sun and solarize it, which also
Oh,
enhances a lot of the power there. And foot soaks
amazing.
is actually one of my favorite
Mm.
things with evolved because it's just like you'll never be able to go and get another pedicure again. Like you're gonna be pre-soaking your feet
Love it.
before you go.
So good. So good.
I can't believe how
Uh,
soft my feet are now. It's just like, it's
uh,
crazy.
it's
Yeah.
it's amazing. Like everything. It's just having such a quick, profound reaction. And something else that I've noticed with this whole recalibration of eating, it sent me into a little bit of confusion at the beginning because I was like, oh no, I don't know what I want to eat. I don't really want to eat anything. I'm so hungry, but I don't want what I was eating. And I was really feeling that I'm becoming a lot more attuned to eating for my blood type because now I can actually, like, okay, I was eating a lot of beef before because I was coming out of a carnivore diet, which was like a whole other protocol, and that's not like aligned with my blood type. And I was like, yeah, but I like it and I'm eating it, it makes da 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 da. And then now I can't really think of anything worse and it's not aligned with my blood type. And I'm coming back into the swing of like eating for my actual prakriti, or before my like doshas became imbalanced, because this is a tridoshic like gift from God that we get to just like taste every morning. I'm like, what?
Yeah, one of my favorite plasmas of the day was after a coconut water. And it's like you get more value out of your food, hey? It's like
Yeah,
you get a second kick at your coconut water or whatever it is, but
totally.
totally puts you in touch with your diet and you can
Mm,
really feel what isn't in resonance with you and what is just from that
totally.
and reduce the amount that I actually consume by so
Yes.
much.
Yes. It's
Like
and it's so
probably, well,
easy.
now it's even more, but it was at least at the beginning, it was like almost an immediate like 30% reduction of how much I
Wow.
was actually eating.
Yeah, I think I'm
Yeah.
there with you. And I don't know if you
Yeah.
noticed this either, but it's almost like because I've now been able to go back to that very sort of early stage of this fear that I was holding in my kidneys for so long, and how that's like metastasized, but something that I always came back to, and I can see this in the patterning of my nieces, for example, is like how food was always the comfort for me. It was like, she's crying, let's give her some food. She's like, she's having a tantrum, being herself out there, flexing her chakra over her throat, but let's like give some food because it'll make you feel better. And what I've noticed in the last couple of weeks that have come out, as I'm now getting into the deeper layers of kind of rewriting that script of my past, is that I've like all of a sudden I'm like, oh God, I want to eat a cookie. And I'm like, well, actually, I don't want to eat that because I don't like that anymore. But now I can see it from that more like macro micro angle of like, okay, well, this is obviously connected to that period of my life when I was probably given a lot of cookies in that early stage because I was feeling fear connected to the kid. You know, it's just this whole, everything is
So much
artistic and
emotion,
poetic.
hey, tied up in
Far
food.
out. Oh,
It's so
so like,
wild.
wow.
And the emotional detox that happens too. Actually, it's more like an emotional awareness. You become so much more
Mm,
aware of your emotional body, and then you're actually able to
yeah.
like deal with them in a more gentle way. It's not like the shadow
Yes.
work is not as
Mm,
intense because there's this like Shivambu support. The
yeah,
purging is so much more gentle. And I really
totally.
believe too that, the hormone imbalance, like the body knows what it needs to be in balance. And so when we
Mm,
cycle that back, we're giving that information back to the body, and the body's like making the things it needs to be in balance. So when we
yeah.
give that information back, then it's like, oh, we need to make more of this. And so it takes
Mm,
some time, obviously, and we're constantly changing, but it really feels like that is like a huge part of knowing yourself and
yeah.
dealing with the deeper emotions too.
Mm,
Yeah.
oh, it's just it's almost humorous, isn't it? How I
Simple it
mean,
is.
oh my God. It's just, I don't know. I'm like, I'm totally that person. I don't carry shame around doing this sort of stuff. So I mean, I went out on a date with the guy the other day, and I'm like, so I'm doing this, and like this is what's happening, just if you want to know. And I just kind of like to flex to see like if I get a bit of a shock factor. And he's like, okay, like that's cool. And I'm like, all right, who else can I tell? Just to get a little like ugh about it, because I don't I don't know. I just feel like in a couple of years' time, when this kind of next wave of people come into like deeper consciousness or whatever, it's like, here you go. You don't need to be doing all of this stuff and paying all this money and chasing all of that. This is so simple and so key. You just have to like get through that rite of passage, which is the whole process in itself, right? You know, like everyone's journey is different, and I feel that I'm having quite profound effects with this so quickly because I've done so much to lead up to this as well. Everyone's different.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You were already on the path to end up here,
Yeah.
of
It's
course.
just, yeah. It's just so cool to be able to be like, wow, like I can see the whole wave of the imbalance just growing throughout my life. And I've managed to like actually stop that at this point now. And I feel like I'm now entering into this, like, instead of like I am needing to heal, it's more like I'm in my like healed era and I'm going to continue to heal, but now I can actually like hold that frequency and not be in that like subtle fear of like I'm under a cell tower, like what's that going to happen, you know. Even still, I'm not down on that, but it's like there's this other protection level there now.
Definitely. I definitely hear you in that department. Yeah, I let go of a lot of fear, for sure. It's so
Mm.
true. And putting the lotion on, it's like another barrier for me, or not barrier. It doesn't even feel like a barrier. It's like my auric field is
Mm.
shinier. And I love the work of Fiona Gardner. Have you seen
Mm.
some of her work?
Oh yeah, that was amazing. I
The
was like, oh
crystals? I'm
wow,
like, okay.
oh yeah,
That was like the cherry on top for me to have this.
totally.
The images was just like, yeah, this we're
Oh,
literally sparkling when we
oh,
do
I
this. You just
know.
radiate so much
Yeah,
from your tissue, and
I know.
it's like falling in love with yourself. You get
Oh,
this relationship with yourself on a whole new level that I just don't
totally.
even know how you get here without having that connection to
Yeah.
yourself. It's
Well, I
really the
mean, we
deepest
kind of know.
self-love practice ever, hey?
100%, 100%. And it's funny because I was covered in this lovely golden aura the other day, and I'm sitting in this cafe and I'm like, oh, I don't know if someone can smell me, but like whatever, I'm sick of smelling like these shitty perfumes everywhere, so you can smell my smell my shiv instead, like that's fine. And this guy comes over to me and he's like, wow, you look amazing. And I'm like, if only you knew. And he said to me, he's like, you just have this aura of yellow. And I'm like, yeah, okay, thank you. I can tell you why if you want to know.
Yeah, I love it, hey? No, people
Yeah.
really they feel it, they really it's so true. I've had a few girlfriends tell me that same thing, like, yeah, you shine
It's like they
gold
want to
the
know.
more you use it.
Yeah. So cool. I noticed that yesterday my brew was a little bit more bitter. So I was wondering if you could kind of like help me figure out like when
Bitter?
you get like, yeah, it was quite bitter. So I don't know what that was about.
I think that there's a few things that can happen with the flavor, like obviously our diet, but we're constantly detoxing.
Mm.
And there's, deeper stuff in our bodies, and as it cleans, there might be something there like deeper in you that's getting pushed out. So
Mm.
I keep everything. I save everything. If I'm not drinking it back, then I put it in a bottle to age it or evolve it, and then
Yeah.
all of these less desirable flavors get broken down even further, and it becomes more pure as
Mm.
it ages, actually.
Yeah, cool.
So I don't think
Okay.
it's anything to worry about. And if you don't like the flavor of it, you can just don't consume it and
Yeah, okay.
give it to the plants or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, amazing. Something else that I also noticed from the aged that I've got, I just held some aside on the second day. Um, and it's now got like salt crystals because I've been having quite a lot of Himalayan salt in my diet, and now even my salt thing is completely shifting. And Melly even said to me like, "Oh, I think maybe like the salt isn't like quite the thing." And I'm like, "Don't tell me about the salt." And then I listened to one of your podcasts, and it was like, "Oh, I don't think people are ready for the salt yet." I'm like right there in that moment, like, "Oh my God, I'm in the salt part of this now." But what I've noticed with the age that I've got actually sitting on my altar and just having a bathe with my crystals is I can actually now see there's like Himalayan salt forming in the bottom of that jar, which is so fascinating.
Yeah, the salt is really not your friend. Yeah, sorry, go ahead, Lee.
Okay, so time out.
We're just pausing for 1 second here.
Does she have an echo
Do you have echo
Oh,
cancellation? I'm getting a little bit of echo.
um,
She should turn it on in the settings.
I think it will be in
this.
the settings.
Hold on.
In audio.
Is it in like my settings of like my iPad or
The
No,
setting
in
no?
in the
In the
in the
settings of the
settings of
iPad.
StreamYard.
is she on the laptop?
She's on an
I'm on
iPad.
an iPad.
So somewhere it says more,
Somewhere it says more,
settings,
settings,
audio,
audio,
Okay.
cancellation.
echo cancellation.
I don't think I have echo cancellation.
It's okay.
It's okay.
Sorry. Yeah, it's not. It just says iPad microphone or my headphones. Shall I go inside? I can go inside and shut the door if the traffic.
No, it's the echo of
No, don't worry about
when
it.
you speak.
When I speak, I'm getting, there's an echo.
Oh, damn.
I'll just speak less.
No, don't do that. No.
We can fix it after.
Okay, Lee's saying we can fix it after. So
Okay.
Andrew, one of the viewers, he's saying the flavor fluctuates throughout the day according to the doshic rhythms. So that makes
Okay.
sense too,
Yeah, that makes sense.
for sure.
Yeah.
And oh, so the morning is the kapha dosha,
Kapha dosha.
sweeter, more
Okay.
hydrating. It's true, hey? The first thing in the morning, for me, I like that one.
Yeah.
Really super, super early.
Yes. Yeah. It's now the first thing that I do is like scrape my tongue, check out what's going on the tongue, and then
Yeah.
enjoy that. And I'm noticing
Mid,
differences. It's just so cool.
yeah, midday pita dosha,
Mm.
and then pita dosha, fire water. Andrew is really, maybe he'll come on one day because he's really knowledgeable in the Ayurvedic and the whole text, the whole Vedas, the scriptures.
Amazing.
He's like got this
Amazing.
brain for it. My gosh.
So
Anyway,
cool.
I'm so happy
Yeah, I
he's
love
here with us
geeking
today.
out on that. Yeah. Love that.
Maybe he can come to the retreat in Spain.
Yeah, amazing. Amazing.
It would be
I've
really
noticed
wild to
like
have a gathering of like everybody that practices this. I would love to be in that energy and
yes,
just,
same.
yeah.
Yeah. It's
I've
it's no, you go, sorry.
I have a friend who's a mother who's using it on her son, and she really feels like our plasma is not just healing for ourselves, but we can heal each other with it. And the
Mm.
salt thing that you were mentioning, the cell salts, the ones that you're missing. I don't know if you're familiar with that, like the cell
Yeah.
salts and the ones that you're
Yeah.
missing in your birth chart. I actually feel like we can get these from each other, like the
Mm.
missing astrology from another person's plasma.
Ooh.
That's actually how I would prefer to take it than the manufactured or whatever it is they're selling, like from the person
Totally.
who has that. And I mean,
Ooh.
you could get, like their diet and what time of year they collected it and have a crazy water
Wow.
bar, plasma bar
Yeah. Yeah.
of all the different astrology of people who've
Oh my
donated.
God. Oh
Because it
wow.
really doesn't take
Yeah.
much, hey? Like it's one little bottle. You only need a few
Yeah.
little drops a day or
Mm.
every so often to kind of feel like that's going to balance you out. But yeah.
Yeah. Gosh, it's amazing. I'm a like a Kundalini yogi. And I've really noticed because I have a sadhana, so I do it every day, and so it's like a really beautiful way to add something like this and to then really see these practices that I've been doing for years and years and years on repeat to now be at a whole other level of that and have like the ability to almost tap into the subtle bodies so much easier and the auric field. And yeah, it again comes back to being like more whole, and then with that comes like this grounded sort of confidence to that.
It's not the salts we need, but the energy they hold. Yeah.
Makes
Yeah.
sense. Yeah, gosh.
Yeah, the whole salt thing was kind of all of it is sort of shocking, right? And it takes me back to before I became a herbalist. I was studying nutrition and what we should be eating, and I just kind of gave up because I was like, okay, we shouldn't even just be eating anything. Like there's almost
Yeah,
nothing. And
totally.
then I just kind of let it go and I was like, okay, I'm just going to eat what I for my pleasure, I'm just going to go with that. And then
Yeah.
when I got into Shivambu, I was like, okay, this answered a lot of questions that I had
Mm.
about nutrition and yeah, and it makes sense, like how did we get this far? Like we didn't
By the
our
skin
ancestors
of
didn't
our
have
teeth.
yeah, cabinets full of supplements and all of this crazy
Yeah.
stuff that we think we need now. But Shivambu is really so liberating in that department. And we're kind of leaning towards, we call the astral diet. So my partner, Olivier, we should have him on sometime to talk about the different, and I'm going to study up on this too, the different energies that these herbs have that are tied to the astrology, like the energy. What is it about caffeine and coffee that
Mm.
you know, there's just these things that a lot of us are drawn towards, and salt is another one of them. And so,
Mm.
what's the equivalent herbal astrological tie to that? Where do these things
Mm.
mirror each other in nature so that we can have a more balanced energy, body vibration, like the whole
Mm.
harmonics there more in tune. Getting rid of sodium
Yeah.
chloride made a huge impact on me. My swollen ankles, freer joints.
Mm.
I mean, just crazy how much of a difference that made. But coming off of it was like literally like coming off of a hard drug. I was like,
Oh, I can
no,
feel
I
it.
need it. I need it.
Yeah,
Like,
I get it. I get it.
and I was eating my food and I'm like, I would like seriously like get through like a teacup portion size of food and I would just be like, what is this even for? Why am I even putting this in my mouth?
I get it. I'm a full salt addict until recently. Now I'm like backpedaling. Yeah, Harataki and cinnamon. Love that. So I'm just,
Yeah, this is another sort of idea with the water bar, like not just having the plasma there, but like spice and herbal infusions.
mm,
Love
totally.
that.
It's funny. I
It
just had
seems
this.
boring to me now to go to a coffee shop. I'm like, oh, chamomile, it's like peppermint.
Yeah, I know. I know. It's like, can I just have the hot water and then you just unload all your stuff and put it in there, right?
We talked about doing that.
I would so do that. So it's funny because I was just saying this to Melly the other night. I was in this place of like, I'm so hungry and I don't know what I want. I'm confused of what to eat right now while I'm recalibrating. And I had this cauliflower and I was like, okay, maybe I'll just do something with that. And I threw in like all these spices and herbs and just things. And I made this thing. Looking at it, I'm like, I'm not gonna eat that. It just looks like nah. And I ended up actually like taking all of this like liqueur. I called it a liqueur because it came out this like beautiful, yeah, it looked like a sherry, like a Spanish sherry or something. And I ended up just drinking that because this was like obviously my body was craving these specific herbs and spices. And I also work with Ayurveda, so I was quite in tune with what I was needing. And I just drank this liqueur, and I'm like, oh my, okay, I don't know what happened there. But I was like, wow, there's something in this, like a Shiv bar with liqueurs and elixirs to kind of like go with that. And then that sent me into homeopathics. So I've been working with homeopathics for the last, I don't know, a very long time. And I was thinking about it, I was like, well, what if you took your Shivambu and then worked with like specific homeopathics? So say, for example, coffee, right? There's obviously a coffee remedy. So if you were trying to work through a block with the coffee, could you then put this homeopathic remedy into your Shivambu with the energy fused in for coffee? And then you just, that intention is there that it's going to go in and flush out of the system, like wherever this hook is to coffee in the body. I don't know.
Yeah, I
How do you
think
feel
there's
like
something
that?
there to it. There is retreat centers that use Shivambu as rehab for actually coming off
Mm,
hard substances. So there's you can like titrate yourself off of things
mm,
using your Shivambu. So after you have a coffee, and if you want to reduce the amount of coffee you intake, you actually drink your
mm.
plasma back after you've had that coffee. It's kind of like the coconut, like you're getting something of it back again. So instead of having a
Mm.
second cup, you do
Wow.
that. But
Just in the
blending
cafe.
too.
Sorry.
And I have done like coffee blended with evolved plasma and done that as an enema, or actually I like to
Mm.
use the word basti, like
Yeah.
a enema.
Yeah.
And I really like that too. That was a nice way to get off drinking it at least, and
Mm.
you still get the energy kick from it. But
Yeah. Amazing. Yet to try that. I'd love to give that a shot.
yeah, the
Yeah.
enema is actually one of my favorite things. I just use a little enema bulb,
Hmm.
and now I don't go anywhere without it. It's like a portable bidet.
Mm.
So the bulb I use like as a bidet tool as well.
Amazing.
And
Amazing.
yeah, that's like it's a really nice way to actually start your day. And when we were
Mm.
living in Laos, I couldn't get on my bicycle without first doing that.
Love that.
It was like an energy drink and like a little small easy bowel flush at the same time, and you
Mm.
just like feel lighter and more energized.
Mm.
Definitely
Very
one of my
cool.
favorites.
All right. Amazing. I'll
Yeah, and we
get
make
that.
our infusions with some fresh plasma with water. We've been starting to do that. So if we have a plasma that's pretty clear and not a lot of flavor to it, we'll use that like on the stovetop with our cinnamon and
Oh,
ginger
cool.
and water, and we'll put a little bit of our plasma in there and warm it up and drink it.
Wow.
Like that's how we're having it this morning. That's actually what is in this cup right now.
Amazing, amazing. I was on a business call the other day and I didn't know, but I was on like a big screen in some big boardroom. And I just rocked up with my glass of apple juice. I'm just sitting in this meeting, sipping away, like giving the codes to the matrix just through the screen, one drink at a time. Oh, it felt
It
so
is
good.
funny. My favorite experience with that was actually going through the airport
Mm,
and like
tell me
finishing
more.
off my water bottle of plasma before they like scan everything through, and you're not allowed to take that liquid any liquids through with you, and like right in front of the security and everyone, I'm like drinking my plasma. You
So
feel like
good.
you have some kind of superpower when you do that, especially in an
Yeah.
airport.
Oh, especially there.
And then you
Yeah.
get through, and I just like went straight to the bathroom, was like refill, like
Yeah. So good.
like a walking water fountain. I love it.
Yeah, it's cool as well when I think there's I don't know, at the moment especially there's just like a lot of people out there manifesting, and I'm calling in abundance and I want abundance, and it's like, okay, so what does that feel like? And like, how can you access abundance in like everyday moments to reinforce that program of like, I am abundant? And it's right there in the plasma, constantly, all the time. Like, this is just so layered and so intricately simple. It's just the epitome of perfection in such an imperfect way. It's like, oh, there's like no words for it, but there's so many words, you know?
Yeah, totally. Totally, I
Yeah.
agree. And thanks, Andrew, for sharing this. I'm going to leave it up for a bit just so that everybody gets a little chance to absorb that. I know Lee is taking notes, maybe.
So are there children that are brought up with this like way of living? Do you know any, or what's that about?
Yeah, I don't know a lot of them personally, but I do know one woman, a friend of mine, who, well, she didn't start when she was pregnant, but um, yeah, her son really young, and her stories about it are so beautiful.
Mm,
Anger management and just the whole
mm,
emotions that the children
mm,
go through has helped her son a lot in that department.
mm,
And she's drinking a little bit of her son's plasma, so it's like she
mm.
can read his emotions better, and there's
Wow.
just such a deeper connection between
Mm,
parent and child. And she also really notices the difference, like his plasma before he started cycling, and after. It's like you never, it's same for us too, really. That first plasma that you drink, it changes so dramatically as you progress that you never go back to that kind of state. You can
mm,
tell, you can feel it like in some way. It's
mm,
kind of like how Fiona showed the images of people who their plasma where they weren't consuming, and then when they became a plasma cycler, like all of these seeds
mm,
that were there that could grow crystals came to
mm,
life. And when you start to drink the crystalline one back in, has such a different energy from the
mm.
first one that you drank. That was, it's like you're seeding yourself. Hey,
Totally.
when you bring that first cup, it's like the seed, like she say, the seed is there, but nothing is growing. And so
Mm,
when you drink your first cup, you're actually putting the seed of the crystal into your body, and your body's like,
mm.
oh, okay, here we go. Now we can do something with
Yeah.
this. It's like
Oh, I love it.
self-fertilizing or something. I don't know how to
Totally,
describe it.
totally. And the energy that you get from that, I mean, I just felt it straight away. I've never been a coffee drinker, so that's been a blessing. But um, I've had some times where I've done some debaucherous behavior and stuck some things up my nose that would make me feel very awake. I'm sure you can fill in the dots there, but it's kind of like a similar like charge when you get that into you, and it's like, yeah, everything comes online, and it's like the Nadi channels that I've been working with for so long through my Kundalini practices and all of that. It's like now I have like another access to like more of those channels and more circuits and just this deeper feeling of homeostasis. And I'm so excited. I'm only 2 weeks into this. I'm like, oh my God, like what is the
I
rest of my
can't
life
wait to
now?
talk to you again in like another 2 weeks. Have you
Yeah.
started to have you started to collect any to let it evolve a little bit? Yeah,
Yeah,
you
I've
have a
got the one. Yeah. But I need to do a more later one now because that was the second day. So, and it's just, I'm seeing all the salt at the bottom of that. And so, yeah, I'd love to I'm going to do another one now and then cycle that through. So, and the
yeah.
verruca that's on the bottom of my foot is having something's going on there and it's positive. So, that's exciting.
Yeah. The soaking your feet in the evolved is going to be really powerful
Mm,
for you, I feel.
yeah. Yeah. Might do that after this call.
Yeah.
Yeah, get back in my bath.
Yeah,
Oh.
and bathing, I had a really profound experience doing a plasma bath. I haven't had the chance to do
Mm.
that in a while now because I haven't had a bathtub around, but so powerful. This was like
Gosh.
our plasma was in the amniotic fluid, so there's like this deep, I had this deep
Mm.
healing connection, like through like ancestral healing,
Mm.
like through my mother and grandmother. You can really
Wow.
feel the power of that when you're submerged
Wow.
in it, even if it's diluted. Like I wasn't in a
Mm.
whole bath of pure plasma, but I would put like, 2 liters or sometimes more into my bath and just
Wow.
soak in it. And all your skin feels so soft
Mm.
when you get out of that. But it's like another emotional barrier that you go through in
Mm.
the bathing.
Wow. Oh
Alternatively, some
gosh.
people put drops in their belly button.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I might try that
Yeah.
because I don't have a bath either. Now I'm going to be looking for a next accommodation with a bath. Throw myself in there. Oh, so cool.
Yeah, but
Wow.
there's really nowhere you can't put it. Ears, eyes, uh,
Mm.
nose. Yeah, so crazy. And
Yeah.
another nice one when you have some evolved to spare is actually to warm it up on a pot on the stove. We use the reduced for
Mhm.
like our lotion. We actually reduce our aged plasma. Not a lot of people, there's a lot of controversy in the plasma community about heating up your plasma. But anyway, yeah, we love it for our skin,
Mm.
especially it's kind of like a sunscreen lotion. I don't know, does something magical
Mm.
with the sun and hydrates the skin on like a whole new level. But when you
Mm.
warm it up like that and get the vapors coming off the evolved, you can put a towel over the pot and breathe
Ah,
in that.
wow.
So amazing. Like you're saying,
Wow.
you're feeling that clarity in your nasal passageway, but
Mm.
when you heat up the evolved, it's even more. It's just like
Wow.
next level
Oh, that
clarity
would be
there.
amazing for the lungs too, because I've smoked off and on. So that would be something that
Definitely.
probably, yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
Wow. Gosh, can't wait to get into this further.
I know, right? I was like, and when I first discovered it, I was just like, I felt so. At first, I had some anger actually
Mm.
that I didn't know about it sooner. And anyway, so after I got through that,
Yeah, it's funny. I was speaking to a friend about this, and she said that in our Kundalini yoga teacher training, when we did that years ago, she was like, "Oh, yeah, we had like a full one of the teachers was talking about this practice, and it must have been the one day that I decided that I needed to sleep and not go. So I never
mm,
even heard that and glitched that out, and it didn't happen. And I was in Mexico last year, and I was just, I was going through Kambo at that point, and I was working through a lot of parasites and all of that, that side of things. And I just went for a walk, and I was like, just, if I'm on the right path, please, can you gift me something today? I just would love a little gift to know that I'm doing the right things out here because it doesn't feel good right now. And I walked and found myself at this cafe, and it was a bookshop cafe, and on the ground there was a box that said free books, and I was like, oh, that must be my free gift for the day. And I reached in and I picked it up, and it was a whole book on urine therapy. And I'm like, oh no, this isn't what I wanted the free copy. Like, now you're telling me I have to do this? Like, nah, I'm not interested. But I carried the book around with me for like 5 months. It ended up in Costa Rica, and I left it there. But I would like read it, and then I'm like, nah. Read it again, nah. And then now it's like, yeah, all right. You're here now, and the divine union just came in the nick of time.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
it's so
love
comedic.
I had a chat with Jerome Shaw and I asked him how he found out about it, and his share was so hilarious because she heard it through Monica Schuett, and Monica Schuett is like super energy bubbly, like, and she's talking about how awesome it is and everything, and that he's like glued to the screen, like, oh my gosh, what is it? And then she finally says what it is, and he was just like, what?
Yeah.
No.
Totally. It's so crazy. Wow. The programming, right? It's just like, what? Oh
Oh
God.
God.
We were at this
Oh,
this girls' dinner like years ago when COVID was kicking off, and I'm not really with this group of friends anymore. And they were all going around the table and they were like, oh, you guys gonna do Botox and fillers? And they were like, oh yeah, probably, yeah, 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 yeah. And I'm sitting there like, fuck, I am not this is not my table anymore. Like, this isn't for me. And then they get to me and they're like, what about you? And I'm like, no, like, I'm gonna do this from the inside out. And they were like, oh, okay, how are you gonna do that? And I'm like, well, I'll come back to
with
you.
my
Like, I'm gonna,
plasma.
yeah. At the time, I said Ayurvedically, and they're like, what? I'm like, Ayurvedically, and little did I know. And now I'm like, gonna go home. Maybe I'll invite them all for dinner, and then I'll be like, okay, guys, how's that going for you? This is how it's going for me. Enjoy your tea. Imagine. Enjoy your golden brew. Made in house.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, so good.
It's so
Amazing.
funny. You do end up laughing about it a lot.
Yeah.
Just like,
Wow.
but yeah, it makes so much sense. But it is a total like thing to get over in your head. Like, no. And then I didn't want to talk to anybody about it. I'm like, okay, yep, this can just be our little secret. And Olivier was not having any of that.
Love it.
And then when I did my 9-day fast with just
Mm.
only plasma, I had like a pretty profound experience, and message came to me that I had to speak about it and share about it.
Mm.
But I was bucking that too, kind of like you with carrying the book around. And you're
Yeah,
just like,
yeah,
no.
Can't listen to
totally. But I didn't want to let it go though. I still carried it, right? It's so funny. Yeah. It's because when I was going through this whole parasite protocol during this time, and once I kind of got through that and I got the whole like, all right, well done, like, you're just in maintenance now, you've killed off like some big things. And I was like sitting in this cafe and I'm like, oh God, I'm gonna be that person that has to talk about like parasites and excrement. And I'm like, oh no, like, why is that got to be my thing? And then I'm like, nah, I'm just gonna like shut that one away. I'll come back to that one later. And now I'm like, oh no, this is the thing now. And now I'm in a place of like, I don't give a fuck. It's just so poetic. Oh God.
Yeah, it is pretty poetic. I was doing humanure, like composting with
Hmm.
humanure, and I got really into it. Like I was a professional.
Love it.
And my mom was like, "Can you please stop telling us that we need to have a composting toilet again? Like, I don't want to hear you talk about poop anymore." And then I fell into plasma therapy, and she was just like, "Oh my God, you're not gonna ever have any friends." Like, she was so worried about.
Oh, bless.
Anyway, yeah,
So
you just
funny.
find new friends.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then who knows? Maybe it's just this whole thing of like, plant the seeds, see what happens. Probably will come back. And then in a couple of years' time, who knows? Maybe this will be like the holy grail that everyone has been looking for without realizing it. And now the technological space is so much bigger and vast that people can't be blocking and shutting people down and misinformation and all of this kind of stuff. So I'm super intrigued.
Yeah, and I think that an in-person meetup for this would be really
Mm.
fun. Like to not just do a retreat in person, but also uh, use the power of the internet and live stream a little bit of
Mm.
those experiences with others who can't
Totally.
make it, and just
Yeah.
like, yeah, blow it
Which
up.
is so cool that you've just said that, because I'm literally building a platform at the moment that I made it with a developer, but it's all like crystal matrix codes. I've been really working the like development part of that to be in this like beautiful lighter space so that we can have these events and live stream and actually like not be like, yeah, shut off from YouTube for saying something and stuff like that. And I'm like, let's do this. I have built the platform, we can go. Like, yes, so
Yeah,
exciting.
I'm interested in what you're working on there. My partner's a programmer, so maybe
Oh,
we should have
cool.
a discussion about that offline. But
Yeah, nice.
of what you're working on, because he's also working on something very interesting. But yeah,
Mm,
this whole
cool.
kind of gated community thing, I think is a that's like the future of the internet, because there's so much chatter and just nonsense
Mm,
out there to filter your way through.
yeah,
So yeah.
totally, totally. Yeah. Oh gosh, so exciting.
Yeah, so we're at an hour here nearly. We can wrap it up here and have another chat
Yeah,
when
nice.
you're ready to. And is
Yeah,
is
cool.
the Create Design Studio your website? That's a good place for people to
Yeah, yeah.
connect with
Oh,
you
that's
and
my
see
my
the whole
Instagram.
other side of you that you do, and
Yes.
maybe we can talk about that next time too.
Yeah. Yeah,
And then
awesome.
have your Instagram up there, Life
Yeah,
with
cool.
Love.
Yes.
So thank you so much. Is there
Thank you
anything
so
that you
much.
want to share just in closing?
No, I think that's cool. I just, yeah, I hope that other people have access to this innate truth and wisdom within. It's just, this felt like my soul mission, and I've got it, and I'm not at the end of my days. So I'm like, let's go. Finally.
Totally. Beautiful.
Yeah, so cool. Thank you for your time and inviting me on and trusting the process.
Oh,
Blind
thank you
dating like
so
this.
much. Yeah, thank you so much. It was a beautiful conversation. And if anybody wants to get in touch with me to share, that's my website and my contacts are there. So,
Amazing. Thanks to
yeah.
Melly for linking this together, and
Yeah,
she's such a beautiful connector. I love her.
totally. Hey, she's really
Yeah.
beautiful connecting people, and I don't know,
Mm,
she's got a
she's a
job here
gift.
somewhere.
100%. She's like the vibes queen. I swear of it. She doesn't even know it. Or maybe she does.
Okay, talk to you soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Hannah. Bye.